Sage Steele joins us now to talk about this. Sage, you were there yesterday. It's an event that's been mocked by so many on the left and vilified by so many of the left. What did we watch yesterday? We watched a lot of people say goodbye, and we watched the wife of Charlie Kirk forgive her husband's assassin. Your thoughts?
Which was by far, to me, the most poignant, memorable, special moment that took me by surprise. And I do know Erika a little bit, and for as incredible as she is, I guess I hadn't thought of her getting to that point yet, 11 days after the murder of her husband and the father of her children. So to me, you talk about teaching the world lessons, a lesson in how we are choosing, most importantly, she is choosing to handle the worst possible situation. You know, you were there, you know how 100,000 people packed inside and just outside that stadium and another stadium that they rented out as well. It took us 2.5, 3 hours, Rob, to get from the hotel downtown out to the stadium in Glendale. Yep. Not one car was honking their horn. People were smiling, people were kind, people were waving along with their sadness as they waited in line for hours and hours, some of them camping out the night before. This picture you're showing right there, that is the difference between us and them. And I hate to separate like that, but we must in this case, because I have personally never been part of anything like that in my life, where I felt such sadness, but peace and joy. Maybe I'm giving too much information here, but you know, as a Catholic, I've always been like, we're quite often taught to just, you know, we pray quietly, we do things on our own. That was the first time I've been in a building where I raised my hands up along with everyone else who was praising God and singing those gospel songs. So that's what I'm trying to focus on right now, is the beauty that you and I got to experience and millions of others watching at home and streaming, instead of the ugliness that the left continues to choose to focus on, to choose to divide. For CNN to bring Jasmine Crockett on that day to say the vile things she said about Charlie Kirk, those are choices. We are going to choose to do the right thing in this case, which is to lead with kindness and do what Charlie would want us to do, to listen to them and say, okay, you do you, we're going to handle it what we believe is the right way, the way Jesus would want us to.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. And I just, it was, to me, I looked at it as, you look at the right and you look at the left in this country. And that was what most would say was a very conservative crowd, right? I mean, I think the media would label that like they'd label that alt-right, they'd label that something horrific. You know how they would describe what we saw yesterday. It was a lot of people praying. You look at what that crowd looks like. Imagine a stadium full of the far left and what that stadium would look like and what kind of activities and behaviors you would be seeing. It's so wild to me that people can view what we saw yesterday as some kind of a threat or or as something bad or something toxic. I mean, I thought it was, and I'm not a very religious person, but I thought that was just a beautiful event. It was full of God and prayer and song and things like that, but it was beautiful. And I don't know how anybody could be threatened by that.
I'm so glad you said that. You have to wonder what is in the souls of those people who look at it, and people in prominent positions with big followings saying, look, it looks like a Nazi convention. Like, are you serious? If it bothers you that much, please just don't watch. I don't think we even, Rob, need to picture a stadium full of those people. I think we've seen enough of it in Portland, in Detroit, in Chicago, and Minneapolis, and all of these cities over the last 5, 6 years and beyond, where when things didn't go their way on any level, much lesser levels, frankly, the assassination of someone like Charlie Kirk or someone that would have been on their side, what do? They riot, they loot, they hurt others.
They destroy.
Others they destroy. And that is what I mean by the difference. This is also what happens when people feel threatened, which they do right now, because they realize, oh my goodness, have we pushed it too far? Instead of acknowledging that, looking in the mirror and maybe saying, hey, let's come back to the middle. Tim Walz has said this for a very long time. Last summer after President Trump got shot, we need to tone down the rhetoric. But what happens? A week later, they're saying Nazi all over again. We must separate ourselves from that ugliness while doing what? Doing what we did yesterday, which is kindness and praise and gratitude and trying to be better and to lead.
Well said. Well said. Sage, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.